Have you ever sat there staring at your phone, wondering why she hasn't replied to your text? You've done everything right. You're consistent, you're attentive, you're always there for her, and yet she seems more distant with every effort you make. Here's the truth no one tells you. The harder you chase, the faster she runs. You've been lied to about what women really want. And today, I'm going to reveal the brutal truth that most men aren't ready to hear. Are you ready to hear it? Because this will either set you free or make you question everything you thought you knew about attraction. You've been conditioned to think that being the nice guy, the constant texter, the guy who's always available, is the way to win her over. Society told you that proving yourself, bending over backward, and making her the center of your world would earn her love and respect. But let me tell you something. That's a losing strategy. It doesn't just fail, it destroys attraction. Women don't fall for the man who chases. They fall for the man who stands firm, who values himself, and who knows that his purpose comes first. If you're tired of feeling ignored, overlooked, or undervalued, you're in the right place. I'm not here to sugarcoat anything. I'm here to hand you the blueprint for reclaiming your power, flipping the script, and creating the kind of relationships where you are respected, admired, and desired. By the time this video ends, you'll understand the power of distance, the importance of self-respect, and the art of living for yourself. Hit subscribe now, because the truth I'm about to share isn't just going to change your relationships, it's going to change your life. And before we dive in, comment below, I'm ready to reclaim my power. Let's get started. Number 1, over-attention destroys desire. The biggest myth men are fed today is that the more effort you put in, the more you'll win her over. You're told to call her, text her, plan every date, and constantly remind her how much you care. Society frames this as being a good man. But let me hit you with the truth. This is why she's losing interest. Over-attention doesn't make her fall for you. It makes her want to run. It sends a message loud and clear, though it's not the one you think. You're not saying, I care about you. You're saying, I need you. Let's break it down. Imagine this scenario. You've just started dating someone new. She's everything you've been looking for. Gorgeous, intelligent, ambitious. You want to let her know how much she means to you, so you go all out. You text her good morning every day. You send her memes, ask how her meeting went, and check in before bed. You think you're doing all the right things. At first, she might respond positively. She laughs at your jokes, appreciates your effort, and you feel like you're building something real. But slowly, something shifts. Her responses start to take longer. Those cute emojis she used to send, they disappear. The excitement in her voice when she answers your calls, it's gone. And before you know it, she's too busy to meet. Sound familiar? If it does, you're not alone. This happens because over-attention smothers desire. It doesn't make her feel special, it makes her feel overwhelmed. Attention is valuable because it's finite. When you give it away freely, without her earning it, you diminish its worth. Think about the things you value most in life. They're usually the things you've had to work hard for. A job you landed after months of interviews. A degree you earned after years of studying. These accomplishments mean something because they weren't handed to you. The same principle applies to relationships. If she doesn't have to work for your attention, she won't value it. Here's where most men go wrong. When they sense her pulling away, they double down. They text more, call more, and try harder to prove their worth. But this only accelerates the decline. Why? Because desperation is unattractive. When you over-invest your time and energy into someone who hasn't earned it, you're telling her that you don't value yourself. And if you don't value yourself, why should she? Number 2. Scarcity creates demand. The harsh truth is this: what's easy to get is easy to ignore. Why do people line up for hours to buy the latest iPhone? Why do limited edition sneakers sell out in seconds? It's not just about the product, it's about the scarcity. People value what they can't have. And guess what? Women are no different. If you're always available, always texting back within seconds, and always trying to meet her, you're broadcasting one thing: you're common. You've made yourself a constant in her life, and constants are taken for granted. The principle of scarcity is simple. What's rare is valuable. When you limit your availability, you create a sense of exclusivity. She starts to see your time as something worth chasing because it's no longer guaranteed. Let's put it in perspective. Imagine you're at a buffet and your favorite dish is unlimited. At first, you're excited. You fill your plate and savor every bite. But as the night goes on, you realize it's always there. Suddenly, it's not as special anymore. Now imagine that same dish is only available for a limited time. You'd make sure to get it before it's gone. That's the power of scarcity. Women don't want a man who's constantly at their beck and call. They want a man who has his own life, his own goals and his own boundaries. When you make her work for your time and attention, you're not just creating attraction, you're building respect. She sees you as a man with standards, a man who values himself, and that's magnetic. Here's how you apply this in real life. The next time she texts you, don't reply instantly. Let her wait. Not because you're playing games, but because you're genuinely busy living your life. The next time she asks to meet, don't rearrange your entire schedule. Let her know you're available on your terms. This isn't about being cold or unkind. It's about showing her that your time is valuable. Now, some of you might be thinking, but won't she lose interest if I pull back? The answer is no, as long as you're consistent with your purpose. Women lose interest when they sense insecurity, not distance. When you pull back strategically, you create intrigue. She starts to wonder, why isn't he chasing me? What's he up to? That curiosity turns into attraction. And here's the kicker. Scarcity doesn't just create demand, it shifts the power dynamic. When you're always available, she's in control. She decides when to text, when to meet, and how the relationship progresses. But when you limit your availability, you take back that control. You become the one setting the pace, and that's where the magic happens. The power of scarcity isn't about playing games or manipulating her emotions. It's about valuing yourself enough to not give away your attention freely. When you understand this, you'll notice a dramatic shift in how women respond to you. They'll start to see you as a man of value, a man worth pursuing. And that's when the dynamic changes in your favor. Number 3, make her obsess over you. Why do we binge-watch TV shows or stay glued to movies with cliffhangers? It's because they leave us wanting more. They pull us into an unfinished story and ignite our curiosity. We need to know what happens next, so we stick around. Here's the thing. The same psychological principle applies to relationships. It's called the Zigzag effect, and it's your secret weapon to make her obsess over you. Let me explain how this works. When you give her everything up front, all your attention, all your time, and all your emotions, you leave nothing to the imagination. There's no mystery, no intrigue, no what's next. And when there's nothing left to uncover, the excitement dies. It's human nature to value what we don't fully understand, to chase after what feels just out of reach. When you stop being a puzzle, you stop being exciting. Think about the last time you were really drawn to someone. Chances are they weren't constantly available. Maybe they didn't reply to every text immediately. Maybe they kept you guessing about how they felt. That uncertainty pulled you in because your mind craved closure. This is the Zigzag effect in action. By leaving certain things unfinished, you create a mental loop in her mind that she can't ignore. Here's how you can use this to your advantage. Stop doing everything she expects. If you're the guy who texts her every morning like clockwork, skip a day. If you're the guy who always plans the dates, let her take the lead for once. These subtle changes disrupt her expectations and force her to think about you. She'll start wondering, why didn't he text today? Is he busy? Is he losing interest? That uncertainty sparks curiosity, and curiosity breeds obsession. Imagine you've been texting her consistently and suddenly you pull back. You're not ghosting her or playing games. You're simply focusing on your own life. Maybe you skip a couple of texts or take longer to reply. What happens next? If she's genuinely interested, she'll notice the change. She'll start thinking about you more, checking her phone to see if you've replied and wondering what you're up to. That mental shift puts you in her thoughts, and the more she thinks about you, the more invested she becomes. This isn't about manipulation, it's about balance. When you're always there, always predictable, you lose the element of surprise. By stepping back and creating gaps in your interactions, you give her the space to miss you, and when she misses you, she values your presence even more. Now, some men hear this and worry, but what if she loses interest? Here's the truth. If she loses interest because you're not constantly chasing her, she wasn't genuinely interested in the first place. A woman who values you will appreciate the space you give her. She'll see it as a sign of confidence and self-respect, not as a lack of interest. The Zigzag effect is powerful, but it only works if you pair it with genuine self-improvement. You can't just pull back and sit around waiting for her to chase you. Use that time to focus on your goals, your passions, and your growth. Hit the gym, work on your career, or pick up a new hobby. When you're living a full and exciting life, she'll be even more intrigued by you. She'll want to be part of your world because you're not just another guy waiting around for her attention. Women are naturally drawn to men who challenge them. If you're too predictable, you're not a challenge. But when you break the routine and keep her guessing, you become the guy who stands out. You're not like the other men who are constantly vying for her attention. You're different, and that difference makes you irresistible. To truly make her obsess over you, you need to understand the power of restraint. It's tempting to text her back right away, to plan the next date, or to tell her how much you like her. But sometimes, holding back is the most attractive thing you can do. It shows that you're in control, that you're not driven by impulse, and that you have the patience to let things unfold naturally. The beauty of the Zigzag effect is that it works on a subconscious level. She won't even realize why she's thinking about you so much. All she knows is that you're on her mind, and she can't shake the feeling. That's the kind of impact you want to have. Number 4, validation is for the weak. Let's talk about validation. This is where most men fall into a trap without even realizing it. They think that constantly complimenting her, agreeing with her, or doing whatever she asks is the way to win her over. But let me tell you something. Validation is for the weak. It's for men who don't know their worth and are looking for someone else to tell them they're enough. When you seek validation from a woman, you're putting her on a pedestal. You're saying, "Your opinion of me matters more than my opinion of myself." And here's the kicker. Women don't want that. They don't want a man who looks to them for approval. They want a man who knows his value and doesn't need anyone else to confirm it. Think about it from her perspective. If you're constantly telling her how amazing she is, agreeing with everything she says, and bending over backward to make her happy, you're not coming across as confident. You're coming across as desperate. And desperation is the biggest turn-off there is. The truth is, women are surrounded by men who are desperate for their attention. Every day they get dozens of messages, comments, and compliments from guys who are all saying the same thing. "You're so beautiful." It's noise. It doesn't stand out. If you want to be different, you have to stop seeking validation and start showing her that you're the prize. Here's how you do it. First, stop over-complimenting her. Compliments are fine in moderation, but when you're constantly telling her how beautiful, smart, or funny she is, it loses its impact. Instead, let your actions speak for you. Show her that you value her through the way you treat her, not through empty words. Second, start setting boundaries. If she cancels plans at the last minute or tries to test your patience, don't just go along with it. Let her know that your time is valuable and that you expect to be treated with respect. When you set boundaries, you're showing her that you have self-respect, and that's incredibly attractive. Lastly, focus on your own validation. This is the most important part. You need to find your sense of worth within yourself, not in her or anyone else. When you're confident in who you are and what you bring to the table, you won't feel the need to seek her approval. And that confidence will make her see you in a whole new light. The bottom line is this: validation is a one-way ticket to the friend zone. If you want her to see you as a strong, confident man, you need to stop seeking her approval and start valuing yourself. When you do that, you'll notice a dramatic shift in how she responds to you. She'll start to see you as a man who's in control, a man who's worth her time and attention, and that's when the game changes. Number 5. Interrupt her expectations. Predictability is the silent killer of attraction. It's not something most men think about, but it's the trap many fall into. You start off strong, texting her every morning, replying within seconds, planning thoughtful dates, and always being there. At first, she might appreciate it, but over time, she comes to expect it. That's when the spark fades. Why? Because you've become predictable. Imagine watching a movie where you already know the ending. Would you still be excited to sit through it? Of course not. The thrill is gone. The same logic applies to relationships. When she knows exactly what you're going to do, you lose the element of surprise. And surprise, my friend, is what keeps her hooked. Women crave excitement. They don't want a script. They want a story that keeps them guessing. That's why interrupting her expectations is so powerful. It's not about being inconsistent or unreliable. It's about breaking the monotony and keeping things fresh. It's about showing her that you're not like every other guy who's glued to his phone, waiting for her next text. If you're the type of guy who texts her every night before bed, skip a night. Not because you're playing games, but because you're genuinely busy doing something else, maybe hitting the gym, catching up with friends, or working on your side hustle. When she doesn't get that text, her mind starts to wander. Why didn't he text? Is he busy? Is he losing interest? That curiosity pulls her in. She starts thinking about you, and the more she thinks about you, the more invested she becomes. Here's another way to interrupt her expectations. Be spontaneous. If she's used to you planning every date, let her take the lead for once. Say, "You decide where we're going tonight." This simple shift shows her that you're confident enough to let her contribute to the relationship. It also keeps her on her toes because she's not used to you handing over control. But let's take it a step further. Don't just surprise her with your actions, surprise her with your mindset. Most men operate with a scarcity mindset. They're afraid to lose her, so they overcompensate. But when you show her that you're not afraid to step back, you flip the script. You're no longer chasing her, you're inviting her to chase you. This is where a lot of men get it wrong. They think interrupting her expectations means playing hard to get or acting disinterested. That's not the case. It's about balance. You still show her you care, but you do it on your terms. You're not bending over backward to keep her happy. You're showing her that your time and attention are valuable, and that makes her value them even more. The beauty of this approach is that it works on a psychological level. When you break the routine, you activate her curiosity. She starts to wonder what you're thinking, what you're doing, and why you're different from every other guy she's met. That intrigue keeps her engaged, and it deepens her attraction to you. But here's the thing. Interrupting her expectations isn't just about keeping her interested. It's also about maintaining your self-respect. When you're predictable, you're essentially saying, "I'll do whatever it takes to keep you around." But when you break the pattern, you're saying, "I'm confident in who I am, and I don't need to prove myself to you." That confidence is magnetic. Number 6. Respect is earned through boundaries. Let's talk about boundaries. This is where many men stumble, not because they don't know what boundaries are, but because they're afraid to enforce them. They worry that setting limits will push her away or make her think they don't care. But here's the truth. Boundaries aren't just important, they're essential. Without them, you lose her respect. And without respect, there is no attraction. Boundaries are about showing her that your time, your energy, and your life are valuable. They're about making it clear that while you care about her, you also care about yourself. A man without boundaries is a man without self-respect, and women can sense that a mile away. Women will test you. They'll cancel plans last minute, show up late, or try to push your buttons just to see how you react. It's not because they're malicious, it's because they want to know what kind of man you are. Are you the type who will let them walk all over you? Or are you the type who stands his ground? Imagine you've planned a date, and she texts you an hour before saying she can't make it. A man without boundaries would reply, "No problem, let me know when you're free again." He's trying to be understanding, but what he's really doing is telling her that her time is more valuable than his. A man with boundaries, on the other hand, would say, "I understand things come up, but I've made plans for us tonight. Let's reschedule when you're sure you can make it." This response shows her that you respect your own time and that you expect her to do the same. Boundaries also apply to how you spend your time. If you're constantly dropping everything to see her, you're not setting a good precedent. You're showing her that you don't have anything else going on in your life. But when you prioritize your goals, your hobbies, and your friendships, you're sending a different message. I'm a man with purpose, and I'm not going to put my life on hold for anyone. That's the kind of man she respects. The key to setting boundaries is consistency. It's not enough to enforce them once and then let them slide the next time. You have to stick to your standards, no matter what. This doesn't mean being rigid or inflexible. It means being clear about what you will and won't tolerate and communicating that in a calm, confident way. Boundaries aren't just about earning her respect. They're about maintaining your own. When you set and enforce boundaries, you're showing her that you value yourself. And when you value yourself, she can't help but value you too. This isn't just theory. It's a principle that plays out in every successful relationship. Women are naturally drawn to men who respect themselves, and they lose interest in men who don't. So if you want to keep her attracted, you need to make boundaries a non-negotiable part of your life. When you combine boundaries with unpredictability, you create a dynamic that's both exciting and stable. She knows she can count on you to stand your ground, but she also knows that you'll keep her guessing. This balance is what keeps the spark alive, and it's what separates the men she forgets from the men she can't stop thinking about. Number 7. Purpose is the ultimate attraction. A man without purpose is a man without power. If there's one thing that separates those who thrive in relationships from those who struggle, it's this: purpose. Purpose isn't just a goal or a job, it's the force that drives you, the reason you get out of bed in the morning, and the thing that gives your life meaning. When you live with purpose, you don't just attract women, you attract respect, admiration, and success. Think about the most influential men in history. They weren't chasing after people's approval or desperately clinging to relationships. They were chasing their dreams, building their empires, and pursuing their visions. That's what made them magnetic. Women didn't fall for them because they were rich or powerful. They fell for them because they were driven. That drive, that relentless focus on something bigger than themselves, is what makes a man truly irresistible. Now let's bring this back to you. If your life revolves around a woman, you're doing it wrong. A woman should never be the center of your universe. She should be part of it, sure, but your purpose should always come first. When you prioritize your goals, your passions, and your growth, you send a powerful message. I am a man on a mission, and nothing will stop me. That kind of confidence and determination is what women find deeply attractive. Here's the harsh truth most men don't want to hear. If you're struggling to keep her interest, it's probably because you've made her your purpose. You've put her on a pedestal, and now she feels like she's carrying the weight of your happiness. That's not what she wants. She doesn't want to be your everything. She wants to be part of your journey. And the only way to make that happen is to focus on yourself. Start by identifying your purpose. What drives you? What are you passionate about? It could be building your career, starting a business, mastering a skill, or pursuing a dream you've had for years. Whatever it is, commit to it fully. Let it consume you. When you're deeply immersed in your purpose, you naturally become more attractive because you're no longer seeking validation from her or anyone else. You're living for yourself. Here's an example. Imagine two men. The first man spends all his time texting his girlfriend, checking in on her, and making sure she knows how much he cares. He doesn't have any big goals or ambitions. His life revolves around her. The second man, on the other hand, is focused on building his career. He works hard, takes risks, and pushes himself to be better every day. When he's with his girlfriend, he's fully present and attentive, but he doesn't drop everything for her. He has a life outside of the relationship. Which man do you think she's more attracted to? The answer is obvious. Purpose isn't just about attracting women. It's about becoming the best version of yourself. When you live with purpose, you're more confident, more disciplined, and more fulfilled. You stop worrying about what other people think of you because you're too busy working on your goals. That kind of self-assurance is incredibly appealing. But here's the kicker. When you focus on your purpose, you also create scarcity. You're no longer constantly available because you're busy chasing your dreams. This makes her value your time even more. She knows that when you choose to spend time with her, it's because you truly want to, not because you have nothing better to do. Number 8. Predictability equals boredom. If there's one thing that kills attraction faster than anything else, it's predictability. Think about it. When was the last time you were excited about something that was completely predictable? Probably never. Predictability is boring, and boredom is the enemy of desire. Now let's apply this to relationships. If she knows exactly what you're going to do, say, and feel at all times, she'll lose interest. It's not because she doesn't care about you. It's because you've taken away the element of surprise. And without surprise, there's no excitement. Women are naturally drawn to men who keep them guessing. This doesn't mean you have to be unpredictable in a chaotic or unreliable way. It means you have to be dynamic. You have to show her different sides of yourself and keep things fresh. For example, if you always text her good morning, stop. Let her wonder why she hasn't heard from you. If you always plan dinner dates, switch it up. Take her to a spontaneous adventure or let her choose the plan for a change. These small shifts disrupt the routine and make her more curious about you. Predictability also applies to your emotions. If you're always agreeable and never challenge her, she'll start to see you as a pushover. But when you stand your ground and express your opinions, even if they differ from hers, you create tension. And tension, when managed correctly, fuels attraction. Let's talk about spontaneity. Women love a man who can be spontaneous because it shows that he's confident and adaptable. It doesn't have to be anything extravagant. It could be as simple as suggesting a last-minute weekend getaway or surprising her with something she loves. The key is to keep her on her toes. When she doesn't know what to expect, she'll stay engaged. But here's where most men get it wrong. They think being unpredictable means being inconsistent. That's not the case. Consistency is important in terms of your character, your values, and your intentions. What you're disrupting is the routine, not the foundation of the relationship. Imagine you're in a long-term relationship and you've fallen into a pattern. You have date night every Friday, you text her the same way every day, and you always stick to the same activities. At first, it might feel comfortable, but over time, it becomes monotonous. To reignite the spark, you need to break the pattern. Instead of the usual dinner date, plan something unexpected, like a hiking trip or a dance class. Instead of texting her throughout the day, send her a single meaningful message that catches her off guard. The beauty of unpredictability is that it keeps her invested. She doesn't know what's coming next, so she stays engaged. She's curious about you, and that curiosity drives attraction. But there's another layer to this. When you're unpredictable, you're also showing her that you're not dependent on routine for your happiness. You're comfortable stepping out of your comfort zone and trying new things. This sense of adventure is incredibly appealing because it shows her that you're confident and open-minded. In relationships, predictability equals boredom, but unpredictability equals excitement. If you want to keep her interested, you have to keep her guessing. You have to be the man who surprises her, challenges her, and inspires her. That's the secret to maintaining attraction over the long term. Number 9. Distance creates chase. Let me ask you this. When do you want something the most? When it's right in front of you, or when you feel like it's slipping away? The answer is simple. The fear of loss is one of the most powerful motivators in human psychology. We value things most when we feel we might lose them. This is why distance is such a game changer in relationships. It's not about manipulation, it's about creating space for her to realize your worth. Here's the harsh truth. If you're always there, always texting, always available, she starts to take you for granted. It's not that she's being cruel or ungrateful, it's human nature. When something is always within reach, it loses its appeal. But when you step back and create distance, you give her a chance to miss you. And when she misses you, she starts to crave your presence. Think about how much you value something after it's gone. A lost job, a misplaced wallet, a fading relationship. The moment you feel you're losing something, it suddenly becomes the most important thing in your world. That same principle applies to attraction. When you pull back, you create a void, and that void makes her think about you. Why hasn't he texted? Is he busy? Is he losing interest? Those thoughts don't just keep you on her mind, they make her work to bring you closer. But let's get one thing straight. Distance isn't about playing hard to get or ignoring her completely. It's about balance. It's about showing her that while you care about her, you also care about yourself. You have a life outside the relationship, and you're not afraid to focus on it. That kind of confidence is magnetic. Here's an example. Imagine you've been texting her non-stop for weeks. She's gotten used to you always being there. Then, one day, you stop. You don't text her good morning. You don't check in during the day. You don't send her memes before bed. At first, she might think, that's odd. Then she starts wondering, why isn't he texting? Did I do something wrong? Is he losing interest? That curiosity turns into attraction. She starts to miss you, and that's when the dynamic shifts. Creating distance isn't just about texts and calls, it's about how you spend your time. If you're always available to meet her, canceling plans with friends, or skipping the gym to see her, you're sending a message. My life revolves around you. But when you prioritize your own goals, hobbies, and friendships, you're showing her that you're a man of value. You're not chasing her because you don't need to. You're living your life, and she's lucky to be part of it. The power of distance lies in its ability to reset the dynamic. When you're always there, the relationship becomes one-sided. She's in control, deciding when to text, when to meet, and how things progress. But when you step back, you take back that control. You're no longer chasing, you're leading. And that shift changes everything. Distance also gives you perspective. When you're too close to someone, it's easy to overlook red flags or settle for less than you deserve. But when you create space, you can evaluate the relationship more clearly. Is she putting in effort? Does she value your time? Is she someone who truly complements your life? Distance isn't just a tool for attraction, it's a tool for self-respect. Number 10. Silence speaks louder than words. There's a saying that silence is golden, and nowhere is that more true than in relationships. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can say is nothing at all. Silence shows strength, patience, and self-control. It communicates that you're not desperate for her attention, that you're confident enough to let things unfold naturally. And in a world where most men are constantly vying for attention, that kind of restraint makes you stand out. Let's break this down. When she texts you, your first instinct might be to reply immediately. You want to keep the conversation going, to make her feel like you're interested. But what if, instead, you waited? Not hours, not days, but just enough time to show her that you're not glued to your phone. That pause sends a subtle but powerful message. I have a life, and while I'm interested in you, I'm not dependent on you. That kind of confidence is rare, and women notice it. Silence also creates intrigue. Imagine this. She sends you a text, and instead of replying right away, you take your time. In that silence, her mind starts to fill the gaps. What's he doing? Why hasn't he replied? Is he busy, or is he just not interested? That curiosity keeps you on her mind. It makes her wonder about you, and the more she wonders, the more she's drawn to you. But silence isn't just about texting. It's about knowing when to step back and let her come to you. If you're always the one initiating conversations, planning dates, or making the first move, you're taking away her opportunity to invest in the relationship. Silence gives her that opportunity. It forces her to put in effort, to show you that she values your time and attention. Here's the thing. Silence isn't about being cold or distant. It's about being deliberate. It's about knowing when to speak and when to listen, when to act and when to wait. It's about showing her that you're in control, not just of the relationship, but of yourself. And here's the beauty of it. Silence isn't just attractive, it's empowering. It gives you the space to focus on yourself, to pursue your goals, and to live your life on your terms. It reminds you that your value doesn't come from her approval. It comes from within. When you embrace silence, you're not just attracting her, you're becoming the best version of yourself. The next time you're tempted to reply instantly, to fill the silence with words, take a breath. Embrace the pause. Let her wonder. Let her miss you, because sometimes the most powerful move is no move at all. If there's one thing you take away from this, let it be this. You are the prize. Not her, not anyone else. You. Stop chasing. Stop pleading. Stop bending over backward for someone who doesn't see your value. The moment you start living for yourself, the moment you reclaim your time, your energy, and your focus, everything changes. Women don't want a man who begs for attention. They want a man who commands it, effortlessly. That happens when you put yourself first, when you stop making her your purpose, and when you start living with a mission. She will notice, she will chase, and if she doesn't, it's her loss, not yours. Remember, attraction isn't about what you do for her, it's about who you are when you're fully standing in your power. Men have been taught to shrink themselves to fit into the mold of what they think women want. Today, that ends. From this moment forward, you stop being the guy who waits for her texts. You stop being the guy who sacrifices his purpose for someone else's approval. You step into your strength, your purpose, and your power, because that's what makes you unstoppable. Now, here's what you need to do next. If this message hit home, if you're ready to stop chasing and start leading, hit that subscribe button. Not for me, but for yourself. When you subscribe, you're taking the first step to becoming part of a brotherhood of men who refuse to settle for mediocrity. You're saying yes to strength, purpose, and a life where you're respected and admired. And here's the deal. YouTube needs to know that content like this matters. The more men who see this, the more we can change the narrative and empower others to step into their full potential. So share this video, drop a comment saying, "Power isn't given, it's earned," and let's make sure every man out there hears the truth.